Thanks for joining us for today's episode of The Capitalist Investor, our very first of 2021. Happy New Year.
Hey, Happy New Year to you.
Yeah, man. How are the holidays for you?
It was pretty nice, actually.
Yeah?
Yeah, kind of low-key, small, but still pretty nice.
Yeah. Same here.
Yeah.
Same here. Nice to just get a little relaxation in, but at the same point in time, I do miss being on the go a little bit. You know, like we typically vacation around Thanksgiving. We had to cancel that this past year. We typically try to go somewhere for New Year's. That didn't happen. So it's cool to like recharge the battery, but at the same point in time, I'm freaking bored.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Honestly, the last month or so, the boredom has really
Kicking in, man.
Yeah.
It's not good. It doesn't look like it's going to get much better anytime soon.
No, it doesn't.
Unfortunately. So we got to get these vaccines out and distributed so that we can reopen America.
Yeah, hopefully sooner rather than later.
Yep. All right. So for our first episode of 2021, we're going to be talking about financial fitness, right? Typically on New Year's Day, you get all those New Year's resolutionists, maybe not on New Year's Day, let's say on January 2nd.
Right.
Back in the day when you used to go to a gym, when gyms used to be open, you'd show up on January 2nd and the place was freaking packed.
Right.
And it sucked if you were a regular gym goer, but you also knew in the back of your mind that there's no way those people were going to be there on February 1st.
Right.
Like,
They had about 3 to 4 weeks of
it
inconvenience.
was going to wear off, right? So, anyways, people make their New Year's resolutions. Obviously, a lot of people probably packed on some pounds last year, just by being stuck in their homes.
Oh, yeah.
I know work from home did not work well for me. I was in my pantry every 10 minutes looking for snacks.
Right.
Not good. So obviously a lot of people are probably, they're making New Year's resolutions for this year to, lose weight, eat better, work out more. And all of that stuff really fits into managing your finances,
Right.
Optimizing your finances, getting your financial fitness routine on track so that you can have a good 2021.
Right.
Right.
And hey, I love a good analogy, and I think this is a great one. So,
they're both relevant right now, right?
I'm right on board with the, updating my fitness and trying to lose some weight, especially with the COVID. Especially since Thanksgiving, it's been kind of a downhill. For me there.
It's been rough, man. Yeah, Jamie got me an Apple Watch for Christmas. I've never really had much interest in having one, but I wear them in the morning when I'm working out, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I've really never tracked my workouts like this before, but it is pretty cool to kind of monitor. And we're going to talk about all that stuff, as it relates to your financial fitness and really establishing that routine and making sure that you kind of stay on track throughout the year.
Absolutely.
Because if you go to the gym for 30 days and you stop going, it's really just a waste of your time.
Right.
If you eat well for a week and then you go right back to, snacking and eating a bunch of junk food, you wasted a week of pleasure,
right?
Eating all those foods that you could have eaten. You get absolutely no results. And that's what we're going to be talking about in today's show, is making sure that you can get your financial fitness in shape. But more importantly, that you can maintain the results.
For sure. And I think that's, just like losing weight and exercising, that's really everyone's big problem, quite frankly.
That people quit?
That people quit.
Yep.
They think it's we'll take a look at it once a year and we'll be fine type of situation. It's most definitely not. And that just gets reinforced, every year that we're in this business. It is a constant maintenance, and we'll get through all the different steps, but you really have to stay on top of this stuff year round if you want to be successful.
You know what 2020 reminds me of?
What's that?
And this is dangerous. And I think investors need to, kind of be aware of this, right? And when I look back at 2020, it reminds me of like a diet where you eat pizza every single day, but you still lose 10 pounds.
Sounds like my kind of diet.
How the heck did that happen?
Right.
How did it happen? And don't be fooled and think that you can continue to eat pizza every single day in 2021 and lose another 10 pounds.
Right.
Like 2020 was an anomaly. Like you got lucky. Everyone got lucky. Your Robin Hood trades, they all worked. None of them didn't work, right? All these little companies with, cult-like followings, like they all worked, right? So make sure you keep your ego in check and be strict and disciplined as you enter 2021.
Absolutely, because I can tell you with almost certainty that it's going to be real important this year.
Yeah, really, really important. All right, so let's run through our 10 steps, D.
Yep.
Step number 1, recognize that everyone's situation is unique. Everyone's financial goals are different, so everybody really needs their own individual strategy.
Right. Absolutely. And, when we talk to clients and, put on events and seminars and things like that, that's really step 1 for everyone, right? Everyone's goals are different. I would say one of the most common questions that I get is, how much do I need to save to retire?
Yeah.
The answer is it depends.
Yep.
It depends on a great many things that we're about to go through here. But everyone's situation is different.
Yep.
I've seen people with, $5 million that probably aren't going to make it to the end of their plan. And I've seen people with $500,000 that are going to be just fine.
Right. So it's all about really putting things in perspective. You can move the goalposts.
Yep.
Right. I mean, you need to make sure that you're doing what is necessary given your own unique situation. Quick example, Bitcoin. A lot of people, lots of friends who are clients have been calling me asking about Bitcoin because Bitcoin's been on a tear.
Right.
For some people, cool. Like go buy some, right? As long as you're cool with it going to zero and you hold it in the right amount, totally cool. Because if it 10Xs, you're going to be really happy. It's going to buy you a nice vacation home, right? If not, if it doesn't 10X, it's not going to ruin your life either. Now, for some people, maybe the 500,000 person that you used as an example, whose plan is doing very well, should they buy $100,000 of Bitcoin? Probably not. Now, that might work out for them, but I don't think I would roll the dice on a speculative investment like that at 100,000 or 20% of their portfolio.
Right, for sure.
A person with 5 million, could they buy 100,000 of Bitcoin? Probably. So you really have to keep your own unique situation in mind as you develop this plan.
Yep, for sure.
Number 2, find a trainer. So I think people typically stick to their workout routines more when they have somebody holding them accountable.
Right.
So obviously financial advisors like us, right, we are the trainers, right? We hold people accountable. We're not micromanaging our clients, checking accounts or anything like that. Hey, bad boy, you can't spend money.
You spent $80 too much this month.
Yeah, we're not doing that, right? There are policing techniques or tactics that you could utilize through like a mint.com, which will let you know if you're overspending, right? That's not us. That's not what we do. But, that's a potential trainer as well. Is just utilizing some of these different budgeting apps to help to notify you when you have overspent in a particular category.
Right.
Right.
And, I think we'll talk about planning here too. That's often my first step when I sit down with people for the first time, is really just helping them identifying what their goals are.
Yeah.
It's I run into a lot of people that say, hey, the S&P 500 did 15% last year and I did 18%. That's not a plan. That's not goal setting. That's 1 year out of probably 60 in your adult saving and retirement life.
Yeah.
You need to understand what you're trying to accomplish with all these different savings tools.
Right. And you know what? Like you mentioned, you got lucky or however you phrased it. But you know how many people I've talked to who have gotten lucky with options?
Oh, yeah.
Like, I bought a call option on Tesla and I made, 150 grand that day and I went and bought a Tesla. Or I took 100 grand and I on March 15th, right, which is probably right near the market bottom, and I bought a bunch of options with it and I turned it into $1 million in a couple of months.
Right. Then
they don't tell you that it went back down to 200 grand, right? But like specific time frames, you can certainly get lucky. Do not extrapolate your luckiness into perpetuity.
Right.
It doesn't work that way.
It does not. And
You got lucky.
Yep, for sure.
All right, number 3, see what shape you're in and document your starting point. It's tough to figure out how to get into the end zone if you don't know where you're starting at.
Right.
And this is really all about, making sure you have a financial plan, right? Because whenever you're starting off with a personal trainer, they're going to have you hop on a scale, right? They're probably going to grab those little fat-grabbing calipers, and they're going to pinch your jelly rolls and figure out your body fat percentage. And they're going to figure out where you are. I've done it where I've taken before pictures. If I'm changing my workout routine, I don't take a lot of selfies in the mirror, D, but I try to avoid that at all costs. But once in a while, man, when I'm doing a progress picture, I'll hop in front of the mirror and take a before. And,
right.
Go through a 90-day change in my routine and just kind of measure the effects. But the same thing as it relates to your finances. You need a financial plan. You need to, I guess before the financial plan, you need to map out or list out all of your assets, income, expenses, exactly what you're doing today.
Yeah, absolutely. Taking inventory, is really one of the important first steps of creating that financial plan. And, just like you said, with starting the year out with a personal trainer, it's kind of motivation too, right? When they're squeezing you.
Yep.
It becomes crucially important to kind of map out where you are so you can set those realistic goals down the road, which we're about to talk about.
Exactly. So number 4 is identify your goals, right? And I forget where I read this or heard it, but it's very important to write your goals down and not type them up, but to grab a pen and to write them out. Like, I don't know the stats, but look, I read this book a year, 2 years ago, whatever it may have been, and it convinced me that you are more likely to hit your goals and stay on track if you grab a pen and piece of paper and write your goals down. Now, maybe that's a journal, right? And you kind of keep track of your goals along the way, but you're much more likely to realize those goals if you write them down and probably look at them on a regular basis too.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? Like get reminded, oh, crap, yeah, this is what I wanted to do, right?
Yep.
Helps you to stay on track. Some people, when it comes to working out, might say, hey, I want to figure out how to bench press, 135 pounds or 185 pounds, right? You kind of come up with a goal and you figure out where you're at now. And obviously over time, you hope to get closer and closer to realizing that goal.
Yeah, absolutely. It's almost a perfect analogy between, working out, losing weight, getting healthy, and setting up a financial plan, because you can't do it all at once.
Yeah.
You can't go from, snacking on the couch between, June and now to running a marathon.
That's tough.
It's a lot of people.
It's a slow process.
Yeah.
It's a slow grind.
Some people, you won't even start jogging. You're just going to start walking at the beginning, right?
Yeah.
And it's all a slow, gradual build, and it's all those cliches that you hear. You can't do it all in one day. The longest journey starts with the first step. I just came up with that one on the fly.
How many more of those you got? Those are good.
So you just have to really set your target. What are you trying to accomplish? And I think that is one of the most important things that I talk with, potential new clients about, or my current clients about, is, hey, where do you want to go? What do you want your retirement to look like? Are you going to be traveling the world? Or are you going to be staying, at home, watching the grandkids? What exactly does that look like? Because that is really going to dictate a lot of things inside your financial plan and your investment portfolio.
Yep. All right. So I'm going to jump in there and say, control what you can control. When it comes to identifying your goals. So, if you've got $800,000 in your investment account, setting a goal of that $800,000 growing to $1 million by the end of 2021, that's not something you can control. You can't control what the stock market's going to do. Obviously, you can get in there and you can actively manage your portfolio, and you can potentially pick better stocks than the next guy. But that's outside of your control. What can you control? You can control how much you spend, how much you save. You can control what your lifestyle expenses look like in retirement. Those are the kind of things that you should focus more on, that especially as it relates to physical fitness.
That's an absolutely spectacular point. That is really you boil it down into one
Show's
little
over.
section. we can call it a day. Absolutely perfect.
All right. Next up, number 5, trim the fat from your budget. This is important, man. I sat down right before New Year's Eve and I started looking through my credit card statement for last year. Dude, I noticed like $10,000 worth of erroneous charges on my credit card statement.
Seriously?
Yeah, like companies that I bought big products from that accidentally double billed me. Like I think I came across about $10,000 from last year.
Wow.
Now, obviously, I should have been doing that every single month. I didn't. My fault. I'll take blame for that. But I sat down and I kind of crammed all of my expense under the magnifying glass kind of situation. I did all that in the last week of December, and I found $10,000. I'm sure things like this happen all the time.
Yeah.
Right? There's either egregious spending on your part in a certain area. Maybe you go out to dinner too much. You probably didn't in 2020. Maybe you order in too much. That may have happened in 2020, right? So, there's always areas of your spending that are just a waste.
Right.
And you need to cut back on them, right? Maybe you go through your credit card statement and you realize that, maybe there's a few things that where you were mischarged as well, right? So I think it's a good time to do that and do that on a regular basis. I learned a lesson from waiting until the end of the year because I was not able to dispute those items with my credit card company because too much time had passed. I had to go back to the vendors and get them to refund the money. I'll be checking it at least every other month on a going forward basis.
Yep, for sure.
All right, to make sure I essentially got ripped off.
Yeah.
And they just hoped I wouldn't notice. Not good.
I spent 90 minutes on the phone with DirecTV trying to get my an incorrect billing taken off my
Doesn't
bill.
that suck?
It's-
I hate doing that. And at some point, you're like, is it even worth it?
It wasn't.
Or do I just pay him the extra $100?
Yeah.
Like, it's miserable. I absolutely hate doing that. That's why I make Jamie do that. All right. On to number 6, track your progress. Same thing. Physical fitness, they're going to grab those fat calipers and check your fat every week, right?
Yep.
Same thing here, man. Tracking your progress. This, to me, as it relates to your fiscal... Man, we got physical fitness and fiscal fitness. They're basically the same word. You probably can't even tell which one I'm saying right now. So I'm going to stop using fiscal, Fiscal, and I'm going to switch that to financial, back to financial fitness.
All right.
All right. Can't use the word fiscal and physical on a podcast. But as we're talking about, financial fitness, like the financial plans we put together for our clients, they're dynamic. Right. So like if somebody has an account with us at TD Ameritrade, and then they also have an account that they're managing on their own at Schwab, even though we're not managing that account at Schwab, we can have them link that account to our financial planning software, and their financial plan will literally update every single day.
Yep.
Like, that's awesome. You should be checking that at least once a month to see how you're doing. Now, don't get overly anal about it and check it every day. You're going to drive yourself crazy.
Yeah, for sure.
Live your life, right? And maybe even every month is too much because then you're looking at, month-to-month performance. But at least once a quarter,
Right.
check that stuff out, right? I mean, what's your recommendation there?
Yeah, I mean, you want to talk about a waste of time. Do a financial plan just once and then never revisit it again.
Yeah, those stale financial plans are not good.
Yeah. I mean, things change. They don't change every month necessarily, but they certainly change from year to year. Your goals may adjust. We talked a lot about goals. They may completely change. Yeah, I've seen it dozens of times with my clients. It's hey, we're going to stay in Ohio and we're just going to hang out to, oh, we're going to buy a condo in Florida and move.
Yeah.
That's what happens when you get into retirement. You kind of feel your way through it and decide where you want to go.
Yep.
Because it's a new thing for a lot of people. So tracking your progress and updating your financial plan, whether you're 65 or 35, it's essential to being successful.
Yep.
Like I said, I love the perfect analogy. Going to the gym and working out for a month and then falling back into your same habits.
Yeah, you're going to be just as fat as you were on December 31st.
Probably fatter.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah.
And if you do a financial plan once and don't look at it for the next 5 years, even if you're younger, you're going to be behind where you could have been had you simply just kept up with the progress in your plan.
No doubt. All right, moving on to number 7, establish a routine. As it relates to physical fitness, I work out every morning, right? It makes me feel better. I feel, physically in shape, but also mentally. It helps me mentally. I feel mentally sharper. On those days when I cannot work out in the morning, those days are rough for me, so that's some of my personal experience as it relates to physical fitness. It definitely, I don't know if it raises the dopamine or what it does, chemically in your brain, but it helps me to think a heck of a lot more clearly when I do work out in the morning. As far as routine goes, you got to make sure, once a week, once a month, once a quarter, you have a routine that you can stick to as it relates to managing your finances. I remember my dad, he was very fiscally disciplined. Every Friday he'd get his paycheck, he'd, cash it. He'd literally come home with cash and he'd sit at the kitchen table with my mom. He'd pull out this shoebox looking thing with a bunch of envelopes, $25 goes into the gas envelope, $100 goes into the grocery envelope, whatever it was. But I remember watching that every single Friday when he would get paid, which was awesome. I mean, he was just a disciplined guy overall. I mean, I remember him after work, he'd go into the basement every day and he'd get his workout in. Fortunately for me, a lot of that rubbed off on me, but I think it's important that you do develop a routine and just stick to it. Develop something that is going to be easy to stick to. If you're trying to get in shape, you're not going to commit to working out in the gym 2 hours a day.
Right.
You're going to fail. You're going to fail. Maybe it's just 20 minutes on the treadmill every morning to start. Cool. What's 20 minutes on the treadmill in your financial fitness routine? Maybe that's just a once a month check-in on your budget, you know? You don't have to analyze 500 stocks in the S&P 500 every day. You don't have to do that.
Right.
Just come up with a routine that you can stick to.
Absolutely. And I think just like working out, for me personally, it's eating habits.
It's like 80% diet, 20% working out, right?
Yeah. If I can plan out my meals on Sunday night and, prep a lot of it, then I'm going to be just fine that next week. If I don't, if the kids are driving me crazy or whatever the case may be, and I don't do that, I'm almost certainly going to fail that next week.
I remember when I started doing P90X when it first came out. This is probably mid-2000s. If I didn't eat right the day before my morning workout, I felt like I was going to puke throughout the entire workout.
Right.
So, I had to begin to eat better, or else there's no way I was going to make it through the workout because they were so intense. Some of those workouts were like an hour and 15 minutes long. And you're go, 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 go. Your heart rate's up the entire time. You're jumping on boxes, all kinds of crazy stuff. It was pretty wild. My 40-year-old joints can't handle some of that anymore.
No. So, and you also made a great point about you're not going to, go from, the couch to running a marathon. You're not going to go from eating whatever you want, 3,000 calorie diet a day down to a 1,600 calorie diet a day.
You'll never succeed.
You're going to fail within a week.
Yeah, you got to go slowly.
Exactly.
3,000 to 2,500, that's cool. Once you master that, go down to 2,200, that's cool. But yeah, you're right. You can't cut it in half, man.
Right.
There's no way you'll be successful over the long run that way.
Yep.
Number 8, regularly work out all elements of your financial life. Be well-rounded, right? When it comes to physical fitness, you've got cardio, you've got weightlifting, you've got yoga, right? And I think the people that are in the best shape are doing a little bit of each.
Right.
Now, for everybody, that recipe is different, right? Some people need more cardio, others need more stretching. So you got to figure out which recipe works for you. I can tell you, I hit 40 in 2020, as did you. My body is changing. I never used to do cardio. I was strictly, high intensity weightlifting with very short breaks in between sets. So my heart rate would get up and I would essentially have cardio by default while I was lifting. 2020 was different for me, man. I had to start incorporating some cardio work again, just your body changes, right? And your finances change over time. So you need to figure out what that perfect recipe looks like for you, whether it's, spending more time early on examining your budget. And then down the road, maybe it's more time looking at your investment performance, or your asset allocation. But that recipe is going to change over time.
Right. Yeah, and I think a lot of people that I first start to talk to, they're really, we kind of use it as like an education platform.
Yeah.
So they're learning as they go. We're not just saying, hey, here's what you're going to get invested in. It's important to me personally to make sure that my clients understand. They don't need to know every single stock and their quarterly results and things like that. But directionally, it's important for them to kind of understand the overall direction and why we're doing the things that we're doing.
Yep.
That's working out your finances right there. And it's going to give you more confidence.
Yep.
Right. You got a plan. You understand it. You understand the components of it. Like you said before, there's really no way of knowing, what the next year's stock market performance is going to look like.
Yeah.
2020 is a great example of that. So, the more that you can learn about this stuff, it's not going to happen all at once, but the better off that you'll be.
Yep, no doubt. Number 9, refuel with regular research. So make sure you're getting good financial education. This is where I think it's really difficult for a retail investor to compete.
I was going to say the same thing.
I mean, the amount of money we spend on research as a firm, and we've gone through the vetting process where we've vetted like, hey, this research resource stinks. This one's really good for small cap stocks. Like that was money by itself because time is money. We spent a lot of time doing our due diligence on all these different research resources. But there's no retail investor would be able to replicate what we've built for our firm and for our clients from a research standpoint. So that the retail investor is at a significant disadvantage there.
No question. And that was the first thing that popped into my mind. It's great to do research, but unfortunately in the financial industry, if you go out there and Google annuities, probably 90% of those are going to be basically advertisements.
Oh, yeah.
Why?
Then you're going to get some people who love them and some people who hate them, too. Right. What do you do?
So you have to be real careful when you're going out there looking for information. If I need to know how to, change my filter in my furnace, I can go on YouTube and I can probably figure that out.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, with finances, specifically investments, it's a little bit different.
Yeah.
So just be real careful and also know the target audience. I think that's also pretty important. Like Money Magazine, for example. They're trying to sell magazines and online subscriptions.
Yep.
They're not targeting the masses. They're targeting their key demographic, which I believe is probably somewhere annual income about $70,000 per year.
I believe so.
So somewhere around there.
Total net. I think the average net worth last time I checked Money Magazine was, or maybe it was Kiplinger's, was like $600,000 total net worth.
Yeah, and that's probably at the higher end.
Yeah. So I don't know, man. I agree with you. I think getting your advice or research from Kiplinger's Money Magazine, that's not the best idea. Even like, what are you going to do? You're going to follow Jeffrey Gunlock and then follow Mark Tepper and Derek Gabrielson and we're all talking different stuff.
Right.
Like, you can get confused. So, you kind of need to narrow your focus.
Yep, for sure.
And figure out a resource that you've got some confidence in.
Yep. And for a lot of people, that's a financial professional.
Yep.
You know, that's just what
For
it
most
comes
people.
down to.
Yep.
So just, to put it out there, just be careful where you're getting that research from, because everything on the internet is not necessarily true.
Really? I thought it was.
I only found that out this year.
All right, number 10, and we're done. Number 10 is pace yourself. Be patient. Sound financial health is the result of diligence and positive habits. I said at the beginning of the show, don't set a goal of turning your $800,000 into $1 million by the end of the year, right? First of all, that you can't control that. But number 2, just pace yourself and be patient. If you're still working, you should get excited when there's a pullback in the market. It should give you an opportunity to put some more money to work.
Right.
Right? Like, if you're already retired, you don't want any pullbacks, So, I mean, obviously, it how you perceive the situation 100% depends on where you are in life. But you got to pace yourself. Like, nobody loses 50 pounds in a month.
Right.
It doesn't happen. Most people can't lose 50 pounds in a year. Some are successful at doing it. Nobody makes 50% annualized returns all the time. So just set reasonable expectations.
Yep.
Don't apply too much pressure. If you apply too much pressure, you're going to quit. Like, it's like having like that overbearing coach, right? Who's just, always ragging you when you're growing up as a kid, and they put too much pressure on you. And a lot of those kids end up quitting. They never actually play in high school because they dropped out of Little League at age 10. There was too much pressure, So don't put too much pressure on yourself. Pace yourself. Take your time. Rome wasn't built in a day. I just came up with that one right on my toes, man. We got some good one-liners today.
Analogy-filled show. I love it.
All right, that wraps up today's show. As always, thanks for joining us. Feel free to check out the show notes on our website. Subscribe to our show. If you haven't subscribed yet, you need to make sure you subscribed. Last few episodes of last year were a little shorter. Derek and I had to cram about 6 episodes into one day, so we were getting a little tired towards the end. But typically we try to keep these things somewhere around 20 to 25 minutes. This being our first episode of the year is going to be a little longer probably. But we appreciate your support. Make sure you subscribe to the show, check out the YouTube channel, and leave us a positive review. Thanks. See you next week.